Hey guys, today I cleaned my sink. It's pretty clean just for you because we're going to be using it to do some Gaslands terrain, or basically terrain that you could use in any miniature game, but this one's specifically for Gaslands. And what we're going to be using is these covers here that basically when you buy something or a car or a Hot Wheel, or even if you buy like maybe a crazy glue, comes with these plastic things, and basically you want to clean them as much as you can from the paper. And we're going to be using paper. I don't have any white paper left anymore, so I'm going to be using this whatever I found in my office, this yellow paper, but I'm pretty sure it works with white paper. And basically we're going to wet it and cover up these plastic things here and let them dry. And once they're dry, I'm going to try to prime them and see how they look. So let's get to it. First off, all you got to do is simply wet the paper. Now this is the first time I'm actually doing this, so first few times it might get a little bit tricky, but you're gonna learn as you do these. If you're doing like five, like I did, 5 or 6 at the same time, you're gonna get the hang of it. And so as you're wetting it, as you're running under the water here, it might tear a little bit, but you want it to kind of like look like a tarp, you know, that's like those industrial tarps that you see in the background of movies and stuff. So at this point, I was just trying to wet all the paper and make it conform to the shape here. You could pinch it in some of the different areas to give it a little bit of texture. And the corners, it's always good to make the corners just drape off. And you know, maybe something like this. And if you don't like the way it came out, just take it off, move it a little bit. And what's cool here is these little accidents that happen where the paper rips at the corners and stuff, and those are actually good. You kind of want those. Don't do them on purpose. Make them happen as you're doing this, and you're gonna get some pretty cool random tears and break in your tarp, like so. And that's okay. You want the paper to rip. You could fold some areas and pinch some different areas. That looks pretty good. I mean, put that aside and it's gonna dry. So for the smaller bits, I'm gonna rip the paper in half and wet it. And maybe if you crunch up the paper a little bit, it's gonna give a few folds on it. Not too much, just a little bit, and put it on top like this. Try to make it look like a little tarp, some material. The corners, make the corners like just dangle off, and once they dry, they're gonna look something like this, except in your case white. And I'm gonna try to prime these with some it's not really primer, well, it's kind of, I bought these on special. They were like really cheap, and it's enamel paint, but it's like glossy. Like this is gloss blue, and I think gloss is gonna look good. It's gonna make it look more tarpy. That's a word. Gloss green. So I'm gonna do maybe a few in orange, some blue, some green. And before priming, you could decorate these. You could use a straw, which could be a cool like pipe or something. Straws are used by many, and they work well. I mean, if you want to do little accents on your terrain and stuff. And also some pencils. I bought these really cheap. You could find these at like a dollar store or something. And wow, they're sharpened. Nice. But what I'm going to be using is this part here to make some oil canisters or something. decorate a bit. So let's put a pipe here on the side just for fun, but you can be creative and put the pipes or the straw wherever you want. Now this is the worst. Using a knife to cut is just not super smart, and I eventually learned that you really don't even need to cut the pencil or cut the eraser. Everything comes out pretty easily. But if you cut the eraser, you're gonna have a little bit left inside, and that could be that could look like oil or kind of ooze or something, toxic waste. You could make some holes in it, give it some texture, and looks like a little oil barrel there or something. Painted red. It's gonna look pretty good. And so yeah, instead of cutting, you could use pliers or whatever, and you could just pull the pencil out. It's not glued or anything, so just a little bit of force and the pencil should come out. And what you want to do is fill out this hole, or if you don't want to fill it out, but if you fill it out, it's going to be easier to glue. So what you want to do is cut the eraser and use the eraser that you cut out to fill in the other side. And my hands were actually pretty burnt from all the hand sanitizer that I've been using when I go out to buy these things, and I had to put some vitamin E cream, which helps a little bit. But here you can see I'm putting the eraser on one end, so it kind of fills up the barrel, and it's going to be easier to glue. So whatever piece of eraser you cut out, just put it in on the other side, and you got yourself a few oil barrels or toxic barrels. So this is once they're primed with basically the spray that I showed you before, the enamel spray, and it's glossy, so it kind of looks like a tarp. Got the pipe here that I'll be able to paint later. And some of the green, actually, the mist of the green while I was spraying these went on the blue, and it really made a nice look. So if you're gonna do some of these, maybe if you're priming the blue ones first, prime the green ones on the side of it, and some of the mist maybe is gonna go on some of the blue, and it's gonna give it a nice look, like a weathered look. And for this one looks pretty cool. You see a bit of the plastic, and that's fine. That's what we want. And even from the tears. And what you want to do is look at maybe some pictures on Google, get like an idea of what it should look like or how it could be weathered and stuff like that. So they look pretty good as is, but let's dirty them up a little bit with some brown. I guess I'm gonna make like a homemade brown wash, which is just gonna be brown paint and water. You don't want to dry brush straight up brown on this. It's gonna be, I think it's gonna be too much of weathering. So I'm gonna put my brush in water and then put it in the brown paint, and that's gonna make it like a liquidy brown wash. And just dirty up your stuff like so. It's just really watered down brown. And as it dries, it won't even show that much, but it gives it a little bit of a dirt dust look to it. I'm gonna try not to cut as much of the footage so that you could see every step a little bit more in detail. And I mean, if the water pools at the bottom, just use your brush to move it around a little bit. And I think that's gonna dry pretty well. So I'm gonna do it on this one here. I kind of don't like the corner of this tarp. It's probably sticking out too much. I'm gonna cut that out later. But put some water and brown on this. And for those of you who are new to this, I believe that's called a wash, when you're just putting paint and water on top of your miniature or terrain. You basically putting a bit of paint in the crevices and cracks of stuff because it's water, so it goes in and then it dries, and it's, you could experiment. You could put a lot, let's say, on one side, and use a sponge if you want, give it more texture. And this is really easy work, guys. I did five pieces in like a day, and here I'm showing you the difference between the wash and without. So once you've washed all of them with some brown, we're gonna go with silver, and wherever there's plastic sticking out, I'm gonna just paint it silver. It might take a few coats because the paint's not primer. It's basically you're painting on top of paint, and especially on plastic, it's really hard to paint when there's not a lot of primer. It might take a few coats on this, but I'll get it silver. And I'm gonna do the straw here as well. Turn that silver. See, and could use some brushed metal to dirty up the whatever you make in silver. And if you don't have brushed metal, you could use black, a bit of black on your paint. But I like brushed metal because it has a reflective feel to it, so it's good when you're trying to dirty up metallic surfaces. And maybe I put a little bit too much on the brush. You don't want to have too much on your brush. I'm going to just dry brush, have very little paint on your brush while you're just flicking your brush on the silver straw here, and it's going to give like a dirty metallic look. Especially once we add the orange to it for some rust and stuff. So I'm gonna put a bit of here, some black, brushed metal. Just dirty up whatever you painted silver, basically. Whatever was sticking out, or if your paper got ripped, just paint it silver and then dirty it up with some black. Make it look like there's something underneath the tarp. If you guys have any suggestions on how to do these, maybe with newspaper or with a different type of material, let us know in the comments. Help each other out. Whole point of this is to learn from others. Hopefully you're learning something today, and if you can, let us know in the comments something that you've done, or go on our Facebook page and show us some tarp terrain that you've done. Actually, you know what? I think next month, the monthly contest that we do, I think it's going to be this. I'm going to ask people to do one of these or a few of these and post some pictures. I think that's what I'm going to do. So get ready for that. Next month, it's going to be tarp terrain for the monthly prize. Now, as you can see here, the brown dried pretty cool into the little cracks, and it gave it like a dusty look. Now with some orange, we're just gonna rust up some of the metal pieces that are showing, and it's pretty straightforward. Just put a little bit of orange on the brush and pass it along the metal here. If you put too much somewhere, use your gloves or your finger to wipe it off, and that's gonna give a few spots of rust. Again, these are like super easy to do, and that's what I'm going for here, easy and quick terrain. Like I said, I've done all of these in an afternoon, so it's not that bad. And if you want, you could use some thread, and I used 2, and I just twirled them to make it look like rope. But if you don't have thread, maybe a chain or something that to hold down the tarp, and then you just glue the ends inside, and that looks kind of like a pretty well scaled rope. For this orange one, I made the rope go all around here. And what's fun with these is I think you could even stack them, make it kind of like modular stackable things. So if you're playing with miniatures that have levels, you could stack them and use them. And as you can see here, the pencil eraser part I painted red. Very easy, with a bit of black to make the oil, and with some silver I'm just going to give a few scratches to the red oil barrel. And I'm going to use some metallic purple and metallic blue to give the end of the pipes here an ionized look. If you want to get really into detail, you would put gold first, and then purple, and then blue, or gold, blue, and purple. If you want to get that really burnt metal look at the end of pipes and exhausts. But that looks pretty good. And I got a bunch of these, so I'm just gonna glue them on some different areas of these terrains. And you could do this first and then prime, or do it after, whatever floats your boat. But I think I'm gonna put 3 of them here. This corner here is gonna have a bunch. I'm actually excited to see your version of this, if you do make one, for next month's contest. And I'm gonna paint these red. And there you go. Now all you got to do is paint the eraser black. Actually, I think I'm going to put some toxic green on 3 of them. Maybe these 3. See how that's going to come out. I want to thank my friend Marco for giving me his bright green Gundam paint. It's going to probably help me out here making some toxic. I don't even need a brush. You might not even need a brush if you want. You just put a little drop of black paint there, and even if it comes off a little bit off the edge, it's gonna look like oil that overspilled. Or you could just do it yourself with the brush. And don't forget to use the silver after to give a little bit of the scratches. And that's basically it, guys. You have some tarp industrial material for terrain. If you learned anything, please subscribe, like, and if you want to teach us something, please write it in the comments so we could all learn from this. And if you guys want to support the channel, there's a few ways. You could buy our stuff on Etsy. We have dice, gates, templates, 3D printed engines with skulls and pipes, guns, a bunch of really cool stuff on the Etsy page. If you want to go take a look, we even have like flamethrowers and flames that you could use for coming out of pipes, you know, like if you're doing terrain, or a flamethrower. And we also have a Patreon page, which gives you a discount on our Etsy. And finally, go to our Facebook page and create your tarp terrain for next month's giveaway. And you'll be able to enter to win one of those containers full of guns. I'll see you next time.